Why is personal branding impossible? Now, this is not a joke. This is not to be satire. I mean this quite genuinely. I mean this quite serious. A lot of people who are trying to start a personal branding journey, and what that essentially means is literally becoming an influencer or a personality sensation on the internet. You have to understand that the entire idea of becoming, a personal branding is literally showcasing yourself. And there are numerous reasons why this is very, very hard, or quite frankly, surely impossible. So I will dive with you guys into some of the topics and some of the principles to what personal branding essentially means and why it is literally impossible for the layman. You have to understand that personal branding is literally embracing your personality. Now, what that means is you have to understand that the the majority of the people that you are trying to, satisfy on the internet is literally because these people agree with your personality. And I can be very straightforward and upfront. It is very hard for someone to like you. And now, well, even if you are the most charismatic person, if you're the most extroverted person, if you have, some interesting facts about you, the internet is literally a different level. It is a different paradigm, and you need more than a great personality. You need a lot of tools, you need to have a lot of strategies. You have to understand how the game essentially works. Yeah, so satisfy the mass audience. So once you literally understand the personality of who you are, you have to understand how to monetize yourself. You have to realize the strategies of showcasing yourself. And you don't do this by, like just putting some random video of yourself on the internet and, hoping for someone to be like, oh wow, this is, a cool video, and, like this person's so interesting, now I will follow him. The reality is that is usually not the case. There are popular videos out there, that get viral, that get a lot of views and clicks, but it is literally because the video in itself is quite interesting. So there is something specific in the video that, attracts basically a huge mass of audience, a huge clump of audience. But if it's personal branding, realize that people have to agree with you. So you have to understand that you will probably, and if you're, a personal branding person or starting, to experience this journey, you will realize that there are a set of topics that you will obviously deliver, right? Because as a person, as a, personality sensation on the internet, there are a set of values, there are sets of messages you would like to convey. Now, you have to understand this, and I've literally been through this many times, is you need to be educated to address heavy topics. And why? It's because heavy topics are the sensitive topics that attract the mass audience. If you are ready, if you are, let's say, intellectually, let's say, curious or smart enough to at least address some of the topics, it is fine. Like, I am literally not saying that, you have to be the smartest person in the room, but I personally believe that first and foremost, you got to be at least articulated and sound enough. So basically, sound smart when you speak, so that when you address these topics, you at least don't get backlash. And in fact, on the other scale, people actually praise, for the messages and the things that you literally talk about. You need to have a strong mentality to experience the consequences. And I don't mean this not only from a negative experience, sorry, from a negative perspective, such as, like backlash or, hate comments or criticism. Not only do you need to develop a strong character to literally combat these kind of stuff, but that also has to happen from a positive level. So meaning all the, high expectations, or all the attention you suddenly receive, and all of the positive feedbacks, and suddenly you get all these favors and all these offers from various people and organizations. You literally need a strong mentality, to literally specifically say no, or to at least understand, or how to cope with the or how to cope with basically these instances when you reach the type of attention you definitely deserve. You need a set of strong principles and morals, and this is actually, fundamentally speaking, the idea of what you should have before you start your personal branding. So literally identifying or finding an identity of who you are is essentially, having a strong ground, or or set of rules of principles which you firmly stand by. Now, I'm not a huge fan, for like I'm not a huge fan in a person who changes their minds when it comes to a certain construct of principles, especially when it's heavy stuff like belief systems, religion, or society. I'm a person who is quite firm on, let's say, a few core principles, but does develop in a positive way, or does change his mind for the better, where he realizes or becomes more aware of the messages he portrays. But anyways, with that being said, these are some of the stuff you have to realize, because otherwise personal branding is quite frankly impossible.